Some of the things we were taught as children weren't lessons. They were chains. And they're still holding us back. Today we're going to talk about them. Let me know which ones you believed growing up, and later I'm going to show you how to break free of them for good. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Translation: your emotions don't matter. You're not punished just for what you feel, but for showing that you feel it. This is how emotional repression begins. We learn to act like we're fine even when we're not. We hide our feelings, we wipe our tears before anyone sees them, and then when we grow up, we wonder why we can't open up to people. Why we disconnect in relationships. Why we feel like we're too dramatic for even the people that's closest around us. But here's the truth. We were never too emotional. We were just raised around people who were too emotionally unavailable to handle what we felt. Many of us were also taught as children that respect is something you owed automatically, no matter how someone treated you. Okay, it's not something that adults had to earn. It's not something that was mutual that they had to give back to you as a child. It's just something that was demanded from you. I'm talking about respect your elders. At first, it sounds harmless. Okay, respect is important. I'm not saying it's not. But not when it's used to excuse mistreatment or to erase our instincts. We were taught that power mattered more than principle, which is wrong. We were taught that if someone was older or in charge, they were automatically right. And we carried that with us. We stay quiet even though something feels wrong sometimes because deep down we think, who am I to challenge them? See, that wasn't about teaching us respect. It wasn't about respect at all. It was about making sure we didn't question them. We thought that by staying silent, we were being loyal. You'll understand when you're older. On the surface, it sounds innocent, right? But it's often used to dismiss curiosity, or even worse, avoid accountability. If you've heard this one before, think about the instances in which it's used. This phrase teaches children not to ask questions, to accept confusion instead of seeking clarity, to believe that the problem is with them and not what's happening around them. So unfortunately, as adults, this belief shows up in two very painful ways, okay? We struggle to trust our own instincts because we're conditioned to wait for answers that never came. And we blame ourselves for things we weren't old enough to understand. If you grew up confused but were never given answers, you likely learned to live in silence, okay? Thinking that maybe someday I'll just get it. Maybe there was just never anything to understand in the first place even. But the truth is, you deserve honesty. You just didn't get it. Don't talk back. Oh, this one seems harmless. It's just about manners, right? When taken to the extreme, this can be used as a weapon to silence children. What we actually learn is that disagreeing is disrespectful, even when we're right. Even when it hurts. Even when something feels off, disagreeing is being disrespectful. So as adults, what do? We over-apologize. We freeze up when it's time to advocate for ourselves. We stay in one-sided friendships or relationships longer than we should. But speaking up is not talking back. Disagreeing doesn't make you difficult. It makes you present. It's better to be seen and not heard. Be seen, not heard literally teaches kids not to express themselves. It was about staying quiet so no one else felt uncomfortable. We were taught that obedience was more important than expression. That we should just sit still and just nod politely. But here's the cost as adults. We hesitate to share our opinions. We downplay our successes. We are afraid to speak up sometimes. We don't ask for what we want. And when we do speak up, we apologize for it. Now that could be seen as humility, but it's not. It's programming. This belief doesn't just hold us back from connection. It keeps us invisible because how can anyone really see us when we're taught to hide? Forgive and forget. This is one of the most misunderstood concepts we're taught. Forgiveness is about release, but forgetting? Oh, that's dangerous. When we're told to forgive and forget, we're not being taught how to heal. We're being taught to ignore our problems, to stay quiet, to put other people's comfort above our own safety. As adults, this belief shows up as guilt. We let people back into our lives too soon. We question whether we're being too harsh, okay? We confuse boundaries with bitterness. But moving on doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means saying, I remember, and I choose to move on without repeating the cycle. What happens in this house stays in this house. Oh, we've all heard this one. So this one kept a lot of us in chains. I'm sad to say it, right? But it taught us that silence is safety, okay? That love means loyalty even to dysfunction. That protecting the family image mattered more than protecting the people in it. So as a result, many of us grew up with secrets that we weren't allowed to talk about or verbalize. And we carried that silence into adulthood. We grew up believing that no one wants to hear what we've been through, so we don't talk about it. You think sharing your story is betrayal, especially to the people that you love. But it's not. It's how you find people who understand you. In order to get close to people and build good bonds and build good relationships, you can't have that wall up. You can't trust anyone. So this one usually comes from people who are deeply wounded themselves. So parents or guardians who've been betrayed or disappointed or abandoned, they tend to have this belief ingrained in themselves as well. So they pass down the fear, hoping that it's going to protect you. So it's not necessarily malicious, but it is harmful because what it really did was plant the seed of isolation. As children, we learn to keep our guard up. And as adults, we learn to expect betrayal, even when there's no threat. We assume people are out to get us, right? We're constantly looking for the gotcha. And even worse, we assume that no one will stay, like the people around us. But I want you to understand something. That belief doesn't just keep the pain out. It also keeps out love. It keeps out friendship. It keeps out people who could potentially be good for us. That genuine friend that we're looking for, we eventually have to trust someone in order to find them. Don't depend on anyone. So this one is more of a survival mode tactic that is passed down like a family heirloom, okay? It sounds like strength, but it's fear, okay? It's fear in disguise. We're taught to be independent, not because it's empowering, but because asking for help was seen as a weakness, because the people we depended on let us down. So as adults, we do everything for ourselves. We bottle things up. We pride ourselves on not needing anyone. But deep down, we're exhausted. We really want support, but we don't know how to accept it. Being hyper-independent might protect us, but it's also very isolating. Healing means realizing that being dependent on the right people isn't a weakness. And it's how we build a connection. You're too sensitive. As a Pisces and a water sign, I've heard this my whole life. But let's be real, okay? You're too sensitive was just something emotionally immature people say when they don't want to deal with the impact of their words. They act like empathy is a flaw, like feeling deeply is some kind of weakness. But being sensitive doesn't make you fragile. It makes you perceptive. We pick up on things that other people miss, okay? Or we also pick up on things other people don't want to talk about. Unfortunately, many empaths grow up thinking that they're too much. So they start censoring themselves, or we learn to people please, or emotionally withdraw sometimes too. And it's not because we don't care. It's because we're taught that our caring is a burden. Look, you were never too much. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't handle enough. You're being dramatic. So this one is the cousin of you're too sensitive, but it hits a little bit different. When a child is told that they're dramatic, what they're really being told is that your experience isn't real, okay? Your feelings are exaggerated and your truth can't be trusted. So what happens when the child grows up? They second guess everything. They downplay hurtful behavior. They feel guilty for even needing support. We spend so much time wondering if we're overreacting when someone mistreats us. You know what's dramatic? Telling a child their pain is a performance. Nobody's coming to save you. Another one that sounds empowering, but it's not. This belief is taught without context, okay? Without compassion. Yes, it's true, we can't sit and wait around to be rescued. But when this message is drilled into a child, they don't hear self-reliance. They hear you're on your own. Your pain is too much to deal with, or don't expect anyone to care. And so we grow up with this background anxiety and this quiet belief that needing support is a flaw. or a problem. We tend to think that struggling somehow makes us unworthy, that we're supposed to carry everything alone. But even the strongest person needs support, and it's okay to be honest that we need help sometimes. Don't show weakness. This belief hurts everyone, but let's talk about men for a moment. Boys are told things like, don't cry, toughen up, or be a man. And then they grow up being men who feel like they can't grieve. They grow up to be men who confuse vulnerability with failure. Men who numb themselves just to survive. And women, we learn to keep it together, to smile through the pain, because softness gets labeled as weakness, even though it takes incredible strength to stay soft in a world that tries to harden you. The problem with this belief is that it disconnects us, right? From ourselves and from each other. Because connection isn't built on perfection, it's built on truth. We get closer to people who are vulnerable with us, not people who have a wall up. A lot of us were also taught that if something hurts us, it wasn't really a big deal. We hear, oh, it's not that serious. So this line is a favorite for people who are emotionally immature because it's used to dismiss, it's used to deflect, and it's used to avoid responsibility. Saying this to a child is straight up gaslighting. Imagine a child saying something hurts, okay? And they say what hurts, and then we act like they're overreacting. When that child grows up, they're gonna stop speaking up. You start minimizing your needs. You start to think, maybe it really wasn't that serious. But it is. If something hurts you, it matters. Minimizing your pain doesn't make you stronger. It just makes it harder for anyone, including you, to truly connect with what's going on inside. These beliefs and these things that we were taught, they don't serve us at all. And unlearning them isn't about blaming the people who raised us either. Okay, I want to make that straight. This video is about freeing ourselves so that we can finally connect. And we can live our lives from a place that's whole, not a place that's wounded. We hear people talk about healing all the time, but what does that mean? Look, I want you to focus on little things that you can do day to day. Just take a note of when some of these behaviors show up in your day-to-day life. Do you feel the urge to apologize for speaking up? If you feel like you need to cry, cry instead of shutting down. Give yourself permission to need people and not feel weak about it. Start by telling yourself the truth to yourself, okay? This matters to me. This hurt me. You're not a burden. You're not too sensitive. We were just taught wrong. And if you believe in something bigger than yourself, there's nothing wrong with asking God for help along the way. Because this journey of healing and living our best lives and being our best selves is not something we can do alone. And it's not something we have to figure out perfectly either. Remember that. It's just something we have to choose one step at a time.